Hi, welcome back. We're still rolling on with our marathon broadcast here from South by Southwest, and right now, one of the things, like I said before, is that what's great about South by Southwest is being able to check out new films that we haven't seen before, and see different directors, filmmakers, actors, what have you. All these artists come over here to Austin and share their works with us. So the next film that we're here talking about is Johnny Frank Garrett's Last Word. And we have our guest here, and would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name's Simon Rumley. I'm a director from London, England.
Okay. Well, welcome to here. Welcome to Austin. Have you been to Austin before?
Yeah, I have a history of Austin. I first came here in. I've been here. I first came here with a film in 2006 at Fantastic Fest.
Oh,
a film
okay.
called The Living Undead, which won all the awards. So
Yes.
that was very exciting. So I immediately liked the place.
Yeah.
And then from there, I came back a few years later in 2009, having become friends with Tim and Carrie Lee, who ran the festival, and of course the Alamo Drafthouse. And then I made a film in Austin called Red, White and Blue, which then premiered at South by Southwest in 2010. And then I came back in 2011 for another film that I made called Bitch, which is a part of an anthology called Little Deaths. So, and now I'm here actually in pre-production for another film that I'm shooting here.
Oh, wow.
So I feel this is almost my second home.
Yeah.
Well-versed Austinite.
I'm a big fan, yeah.
Yeah, very
I'm always
good.
happy to be back.
What are some of the influences you have making a film like this?
Well, it's kind of funny because this is an unusual film because on one side of the film it's very much about a social injustice, but the reason that the film exists, its raison d'etre, is very much the guy Johnny Frank Garrett left a curse ladder on the night of his execution. So on one side it's things like west of Memphis, and I suppose latterly kind of making a murderer. On the other side it's more it was in theory kind of things like Sinister and Final Destination or something like that.
Yeah. Does it take a whole lot of time to sit down and write down a plot, something that this detailed?
Well, you know what? All the films that I mentioned before, I wrote myself. This is actually the first film that I had no writing credit, no input on the script. So so I was very much brought in as a director for hire. Yeah,
Ooh, that's fun.
Yeah. But when you write it, of course, you get to shape it a lot more, and you start off with ideas, you take notes, and then you take more notes, and at some point you're like, okay, I'm ready to write a script, and then you write the first draft, and then you then do another draft, and then you give it to a few people, and they come up with some ideas, and you do like, I don't know, 4, 5, 6, sometimes more drafts, and it's a lot of work just to get the script to a point where it's actually good.
I bet.
And like I said, you've been building a filmmaking career as a director and a writer.
Yeah.
Looking back, as for every filmmaker we talk to, it's maybe a different time. Maybe it was when they were a kid. Maybe it was when they were a teenager or an adult. Was there a certain time when you thought to yourself, I have to be a filmmaker? This is something I have to do.
Well, I tell you what, I was studying law at university in England, and I finished my law degree, but I pretty much woke up when I was 19, pretty much literally woke up one morning and thought, I think I'd like to be a film director. And there was no inclination previously that I'd ever thought that. I'd literally bang that, and then afterwards, like at that point, it was a bit like saying, well, I'd like to be an astronaut or a pop star, because
right.
that was 20 years ago, almost 20 years ago, and back then, being a film director was like a crazy thing to even think of.
Your family and friends are like, no, law degree.
You're right.
And
Well, certainly my dad was.
What do you think? What was it that made you think I've got to be a filmmaker? Is there a certain thing that?
Well, I think it's I always like stories. I always read books when I was young, and I have to say I don't read as much now as I used to. But I've always watched films. And it's that storytelling. And actually, when I was 21, I did write a novel, an unpublished novel, and it was very much a career test to think, well, maybe I'd like to be a novelist. And I reasonably liked it, but it's too kind of isolating, really. So in the end, I thought, well, the other way to tell stories is through films.
I bet. It's magic, is what it is.
And the great thing about films is it's a combination of writing, visuals, and audio. And I love music, and I love writing, and I love visuals. So it's actually it's the perfect thing, really. In a way that actually writing a novel would just be one of those things rather than all of those. Not to say that I'd be a good novelist or anything, but
you'd be great.
Thanks.
You'd be great.
I'll take that.
Yeah.
In making a film, it's such a challenge. Just to from the inception of it, from the thought to getting it up there on the screen. It's such a challenge. What were some of the things? And you faced so many things. Were there any things that you faced? Any obstacles? Any challenges? I mean, that just stick with you from making this film?
Well, it's always tough to get a film that everyone's happy with, and it's certainly we did a few more edits than I think all of us would usually do. So every film, as you say, has their own challenges, and I think I think at this point we finally came up with a version that everyone was happy with, and we're just getting it here is kind of a vindication of that. So we're very excited to see how it plays. But yeah, every film has its own barriers, and I think really more, or not barriers, but things to get over, and I think really the more preparation you do, hopefully the less kind of problems you have.
Right.
What do you hope for people, the audiences here at South by Southwest, to take away from the film after having watched
Well,
it?
I was going to say, as I'm talking to you, I've kind of remembered that we didn't really tell, I didn't really tell you what the film's about. So it's called Johnny Frank Garrett's Last Word, and it's based in Amarillo, Texas. And on Halloween 1981, a 76-year-old nun, I think it was 1980, 1981, a 76-year-old nun called Sister Tadea Benz was raped and murdered in her bedroom in her convent. So it's pretty hardcore, and the police thought that they knew they had someone who did it, and then they had to let them go, and then they couldn't find anyone who they thought did it, and suddenly out of nowhere a psychic who the police had spoken to kind of came up with, she had a vision of the person who did it, and with the address where he lived, and a few other things, crazy things. So the police went to this address, happened to be where this guy Johnny Frank Garrett lived. He was 17 at the time. He was arrested, always professed his innocence. He was arrested, and if you think making a murderer is bad in terms of all those kind of things, bad things that went on to Stephen Avery, this is pretty much exactly the same. And he was a 17-year-old kid, essentially from the wrong side of the tracks. Again, couldn't afford a good legal defense. Was. And there were just things which are just basically wrong with the trial. And so he was sentenced to death, and he spent 10 years trying to reverse that decision, failed. Even the Pope John Paul II basically wrote to Anne Richards, who was the governor of state at the time, asking for a stay of execution. She did not do that, so he ended up being executed 10 years later, and on his deathbed, he wrote this curse letter, and it basically says, dear society, I hate you. I could have, explained my innocence many times over, but you didn't want to listen to me. But I've made peace with everything. I'm going to meet my maker, and I'm happy that I'm going to meet him because I put a curse on you. And when you die, that'll be me. But it's not just when you die. When your mother, when your father, when your sister, your brother, your wife, your children, when they die, that'll be me, and you will not escape. And so, and I've held this curse letter in my hands. It actually really exists, and it's like an eight-page kind of letter, fairly vitriolic as you'd expect. And yeah, after he died, people in Amarillo who were involved mysteriously started dying. So that's what the film is about.
That's awesome.
So it's so in terms of what we want people to take away from the film, it's not like it's not a complete social study. We're taking the genre element of that film and heightening it. But every death that you see in the film is very based in the reality of the case. So really we want people to go away and look at the evidence, look at the stuff online. There's an amazing documentary called The Last Word as well, which details all the things that went wrong in his trial, and just say, does this kid, deserve to have this moniker of murder hanging over him? And I think we generally don't think he does.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Thank you so much for spending a little time here with us, and for bringing your film here to us, for all of everybody here to check out. And do you know which screen? There's a couple more screens.
I can tell you when every screening is. Yeah, so it's premiering tomorrow, Sunday, at Alamo Lamar at midnight. Then its second screening is Alamo Lamar on Tuesday at midnight, and then the third screening is States. Oh no, hang on. Tuesday is the Stateside at midnight, and then the third screening is a week today at the Alamo Lamar, I think at 4:30.
Right on.
Yeah.
Very good.
Thank you again so much.
Thank you so much.
And you have the dates, you have the times, so definitely go out there and check out the film.
Yeah.
This coming week.
Yeah. Johnny Frank Garrett's Last Word.
Thank you.
I would be the sniper in the back, making sure you all died and I could get the loot myself. That's
Well, that's
me.
what I'm saying. Like, you and I would just be in the back going, let them kill themselves. Okay, now finish off the rest. Let's go clean up.